Hey guys, welcome back to my watercolor channel, and today I paint a small forest and I add some spruces and one pine. So basically what I have been practicing, and maybe you have been practicing in the previous video of winter edition for trees. But first thing that I do is basically preparing a small sketch, so I have an idea where to add the trees as well as to add the big pine, so a little bit orientating on that one, and partly that the trees look somewhat straight, especially the spruces, and then also adding a small path or a snow hills there. But then I continue to paint. I wet the paper first, so the upper half of the paper by using a very big brush, and then I prepare the colors. For the sky I mainly use ultramarine blue, and then I prepare some rose sienna and some cadmium red, as well as adding some of the ultramarine blue to make my own brown, so I can have a nice warm colors at the back of the forest. But first I focus on the sky and just adding some of the blue at the top, and here my painting is as well tilted so that the color is flowing nicely downwards. Then I add the brown that I have prepared before, and then occasionally adding a little bit of the yellow ochre as well. And I use here a medium-sized brush. The paper will add the brown, and the further away standing trees is still quite wet, so it's mixing a little bit with the blue color, but not too much, as the main blue is at the top. Here I had a little bit too much of the water, and so I took it out off with the paper, and then I add a little bit more color. I prepare some green, and now I add some of the yellow, lemon yellow, onto the ground, so it's kind of like a bit of a sunny day, and I don't want just to have blue colors on this snow, and then adding as well some of a turquoise blue, but both layers are very light in pigments, so it's not too overwhelming, as the trees are supposed to get the most of the intention. And like I said, it's a sunny day, so not adding too much blue to the ground. I prepared some green out of Viridian green and some indigo blue. It has a really nice dark green, and then I start to add the trees. I want to have another tree line at the back, so the pigments are very light in color here as well, and I use the same technique, so just pressing the brush and then lifting towards the side, and it gives the typical form. However, I don't want to paint the entire spruce, so I just add some water when it flows down, and then adding kind of like different sizes of the spruces into the painting, so it gives a nice variety it doesn't look so uniform. And then occasionally adding some brown as well, and spreading it slightly with water. I have a main bruise in the 1/3 of the painting, so I just leave some unpainted paper there, and just onto the right side add more of the spruces. So here a little bit more green, and then I continue with the pine, my lonely pine. So just adding a very light green, and I mixed it out of indigo blue as well as of yellow, lemon yellow, so the colors that I have used before. And now adding some of the dark green to the pine, so it's basically some indigo blue. And I kind of like tap the paper with the brush, so loose areas on the pine can be seen as well, as it is quite far away. I don't need to add specific needles there. Then behind the pine are more spruces, and just adding them the same way as I have done before. Here, especially in the area where I live, we have quite a lot of smaller pines as well as spruces, but then occasionally comes the really big and very tall pine. I didn't want to have the front too empty, so I add a little bit of raw sienna and some grass, and then emphasize a bit of the snow hills, snow areas there as well, with a light ultramarine blue. So basically I just wetted it a little bit and then add spots here and there of ultramarine blue color. It kind of gives a nice structure there as well to the foreground of the painting. But the colors are quite light in pigments, and it's important to guide the brush basically like up and down, so the typical form of a hill comes out nicely. I prepare more of the indigo blue and some of the radiant green. Now it's just adding the now just using very strong pigments and adding it to the front, and again pressing and lifting it to the side and leaving some space in between, because later on I will add some more of the water. And it's supposed to be still winter, gives the impression that there's a snow on the top. And it's flowing nicely together, and then I wait a little bit and add a very strong color of indigo blue, as well as a little bit in the middle of the spruce, so it's not just towards the side, and using the same way as I have been doing the same way as I have done before. Now I made some lighter green of the same colors and some of the darker green, and then I add more of the spruces at the back behind the main spruce, and it's the same way, just using strong colors and then lighten it up by adding it more water, so it kind of like gives the impression that those trees are standing further. and as well as doing those different layers of spruces, or adding, it gives the idea of distance and more depth than having just a couple trees behind and then one at the front. The sizes vary here as well, so it's kind of quite important that this painting is quite good for practicing spruces and adding some distance to the painting. It's quite a simple painting, quite suitable for every skill level. Now that my big pine has dried, I just add some brown, and basically it is the brown that I have used before, but with a stronger pigment, so it's kind of like rose sienna, a cadmium red and some ultramarine blue. And then press the brush tightly to the palette and turn it around to be able to have a very thin brush, and making some of the branches as well as some tree stumps at close to the pine. Then I add a bit more of the greenish colors to the grass at the front, so it creates a stronger contrast. Basically just adding here more details to emphasize certain areas, and then adding more shadowy areas so it gives more depth to the painting, as well as adding some more shadows underneath the main point and at the back. And mainly pressing down the brush tightly to the paper. I recommend to use a medium-sized brush. I think I have a little bit of too small brush here. A little bit to the side. And then still adding some more details to the main spruce. So kind of like using dark colors of the indigo blue and viridian green with a lot of pigment and not that much of a water, but enough that the brush soaks in the paint, but also not too much because I want to split the brush, so to add the more detailed needle form. And it's important to add it to the middle and underneath the spruce, and a little bit at the back, more of darker colors, but not too much. Some trunks and a bit more detail. Onto the snow. So it's kind of like really nice contrast between the sun shining onto the snow and then having here more shadowy areas which are very dark in color. And then adding also some light layers and a little bit of water, so it's more wet to wet, not just having very dark edges. Here a bit of a darker brown as well. The spring is coming soon. this kind of weather, at least the snow is melting a little bit faster. A little bit of browner colors, the back. Guys, that was it. Thank you for watching and remember to subscribe. Bye!